had to have some kind of surgery for this. There's a chance you'll be more predisposed to getting it yourself if you have the same body type, body structure. So if there's someone in your family, whether it's your mother or a sibling, a sister, who's told you that they've had a bladder sling done, you might want to brain picker a little bit. You might want to just question, because women freely admit to having bladder slings done. But that's all they say. That's all they tell you. And so oftentimes, if you dig a little bit deeper, they will admit, well, I also had this done too. It's just they're just not talking about it, and maybe you'll find more information that way. There are also some genetic conditions that can predispose you to POP issues, like Marfan is a collagen deficiency condition. MS or muscular dystrophy are neuromuscular conditions, which can be one more card stacked on that deck. There's chronic constipation issues. It doesn't matter what the cause of your constipation is. If it's chronic constipation and it's like all the time, all the time, all the time, you can have IBS issues, whether it's irritable bowel syndrome, or you can just not eat very well. You have kind of a yucky diet, and so you're constipated. So what happens with the constipation is there is a repetitive pushing down on that bowel. You're pushing down, you're pushing down, you're pushing down. And when you push down on that bowel, you're not just, you think you're pushing down on just that bowel, but everything in here is attached to something else. So you're really pushing down everything. There's issue with the whole pushing down thing, in that it's hard to tell. I mean, if it's IBS, if it's irritable bowel syndrome, it's hard to tell what is IBS and what really is the POP issue here, because they both cause constipation issues in some women. For some women, it's diarrhea with IBS, but for others, it's the constipation. And that was the case with me. I had IBS issues. So the constipation by itself wasn't a flag for me, because I was constipated with the bad guts anyway. I didn't really question that part of it. So I would like to say, throw something out to you ladies as far as the IBS pathway. If there are any ladies in this room that have got bad guts, IBS going on, that also clearly have POP going on, I'm trying to track some kind of data about this, because there's nothing out there that I can find documentation-wise, women that have both these conditions, and I'd like to add an extra chapter to my book when it comes out the next edition about this particular aspect. So if you do have both conditions and you have information, you could email me, go to my website, and email me directly, or there's also a pocket at the website where you can just type the stuff right in there and send it. And give me your name and contact information so I can confirm with you that it's okay that I have your information. I'd really appreciate it, because that can help me help other women with this combination of problems. There is chronic coughing. Now with chronic coughing, and this can be from allergies or emphysema or smoking or gosh, there's a bunch of different reasons that you would be chronically coughing. But with the coughing, with the constipation, you're pushing down, pushing down. With the coughing, you're jerking. It's repetitive jerking, 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 jerking. So it's constantly jarring all of those structural support tissue that hold everything up there. Women that are joggers and marathon runners also have constant jerking, jarring to their organs. So if you have a daughter or a daughter-in-law or a sister that is a jogger marathon runner, you might want to mention to her that she should be concerned about this. Minimally, she should have a tampon in place when she's running, and if she's a hardcore big person into the whole marathon running thing, she might want to talk to a physician about getting a pessary in place, so she's got some support there to help support those structures while she is running and jarring those areas. Heavy lifting, and there are many reasons for heavy lifting. Occupational, if you have a job where you're lifting heavy things all the time, most jobs, you go for a little, maybe a little training video in the beginning, 15, 20-minute training period that says, okay, lift with your knees, don't use your back. Well, we pretty much kind of know this, but if you're busy and you're working, you kind of just let go of it, and then you just happen to occasionally do the wrong thing lifting-wise. Well, realistically with POP, if you have a structural support belt on when you were lifting, it would really make a big difference. It would help very much with that pathway. It's one of those things where you kind of have to be your own, you know, whack yourself on the head kind of thing, make sure you do this kind of a pathway. If you do any kind of weight training, and not a lot of women do that, I'm kind of a exercise nut, so I do some weightlifting, but it's just little baby 10-pound weights. And even though I know this stuff now, I still have to remind myself when I'm lifting those free weights to contract the abdominal muscles, hold those muscles in. We tend to think of our abdominal muscles from a looks aspect, not a health aspect, and we're looking at it the wrong way. We should be looking at it as a structural support for our pelvic cavity. This is what's holding this stuff up and help holding it in. So if you think about it from that angle and not from the, you know, I want to look good or whatever, pathway, it might help a little bit. Heavy lifting, if we talk about one aspect that we don't even think about at all, is something that most, if not all of us, have done repetitively, lifting our babies. We have our babies. We love having our babies. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. We have our babies, and then from the time that we come home from the hospital on, we are constantly, repetitively lifting them. And we're not holding our tummies in. Those babies, if they popped up with a little tag on them that said, contract your tummy before you pick me up, it'd be great, because that would remind us to do it. But we just don't think about it, and we're not made aware of that importance of holding your tummy in. So we have our babies, and so from the time they're born until they're 3, maybe 4 years old, picking them up. We put them in their high chairs, we put them in their cribs, we put them in the car seat, we put them in the bathtub, in the shopping carts. We're picking them up all the time. Every time you pick up that baby and you're not holding that structure in, that weight is displaced, it's pushing down, it's pushing down. So you have your baby, and now your baby's 3 years old, and you have your second baby. So now you're not lifting this heavy baby for 3 or 4 years. Now you're going 6 years because you have 2 babies. If you have 3 children, extend it further out. So finally the babies are all grown up, and they've gone off and they have their own babies now. So what are we doing? Now we're in the age pocket where POP is an issue, and we're picking up our grandbabies. It's the same thing. So what we need to do with this aspect, we need to think in terms of what we can do to remind ourselves to hold our tummies in when we should be for that structural support. So what I would recommend is, and this is a matter of basically retraining your brain what to do. When you do something repetitive that you can associate holding your tummy in to remind you to do it, that's the best way to try and change your thought process. So I recommend that you can do one of 2 things. You can either, when you shop, if you shop often, say like grocery shopping, every time you pick an item off the shelf, it doesn't matter how light or heavy it is, because it's not for the weight purpose, it's you're training your brain. Every time you take something off the shelf, you put it in your cart, contract your abdominal muscles. If you don't shop often, use your purse. Doesn't matter if it's a little tiny purse or a big purse. Every time you pick up your purse, contract your tummy. So you have to hold it in for a long time. Just contract it because you're establishing a habit here. Remind yourself to do it. It's not going to happen overnight. I just have to remind myself, but it's worth giving it a shot to try and do. One last cause, I call it the caveman factor. If you think of your organ stack like a brick wall, but instead of hard square bricks, you have round, soft, squishy bricks. Okay, now when you have a hysterectomy and you remove a soft, squishy brick from that lower center area of that brick wall, what's going to happen? That wall is not going to collapse, but it might cave in a little bit. Your organs are going to shift. So there's a possibility that that may kind of impact, you have a hysterectomy, that may impact the POP as well.